All right. I'm not sure that we're live. Maybe it's just the program, but I'm going to look at your comments and see. It shows me that nobody's here. So I'm going to see. If I see comments, I'll continue. This is going to end up being one of the biggest shows I've ever done. It says nobody's here, but one of you liked it. So Brent's here. Brent, something's crazy with my program. Who else is here? This is the most amazing, the most shocking show I'll ever do, probably. All right. I'm going to go. I'm just going to go. Looks like y'all are here. It just doesn't indicate it on the screen. Okay. Miss Sarah Moon is here. And since it's our 9th year anniversary today, why is this on the screen even? Since it's our 9th year anniversary, whatever, she says she gets today for sure. So she's here. We're going live. This is just going to be a shocking show and probably the most dangerous show I've ever done. One thing we've learned in Bay County is if you piss off the people with the badges and the prosecutors, it doesn't go well for you. But I'm going to tell you this stuff anyway because it needs to be told. All right. I'm not building this up either. What you're going to see today is probably the most shocking evidence document I've ever come across. So let's get right to it. No more of this histrionics, Bernie. Let's just get to it. All right, we'll do that. I'm gonna begin though by thanking two of the sponsors that make this happen, and then we're gonna get to it, and I'm gonna try to roll through it as well as I can.
It's a hot time in Florida, and my friend Ryan could make sure your air conditioning is running at peak efficiency. He could even install a new one, built to a higher standard, American standard. Find out more at PCAirRepair.com.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.
Okay, I guess what I'll do first is I'll show you. I'm going to show you the document first. Let's do that. So the way it works, I didn't know this stuff either. So if you know it, bear with me. And if you don't know it, you'll be glad you know it. So what is a state attorney? A state attorney is the top prosecutor. There are, I think, 15 or 16 districts in the state of Florida. So the 14th judicial district is ours, and it covers, I believe, 5 different counties. So if you get arrested in any of the counties within that district, if you get arrested by one of the 5 sheriffs or police chief, it goes to the top prosecutor, and that's the state attorney. It's Larry Basford. It's an elected position. He's been there for 3 years, and he decides whether or not you get prosecuted. So I've been reporting to you how the police chief in Lynn Haven, the vulgar and vindictive chief of police, Ricky Ramie, how he has been making false arrests. Oftentimes because his boss tells him to or asks him to. His only boss is the city manager. It used to be Michael White. So he would arrest women who were seeing Michael White's bro buddies, his bros, and they weren't happy with her. So I've shown you the text exchanges. Nobody did anything about it. The doctor of leadership, Mayor Jesse Nelson, loves him. Vicky Gaynor loves him. And this time, it appears that he made false arrests to please city manager Vicky Gaynor. Bernie, that's a shocking statement. You better have the evidence. All right, let's look at it. So there was a building official for Lynn Haven, and city manager Vicky Gaynor a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago, was really pissed off at him. From what I understand, she bought a new home and she needed some permits done. So she asked her building official to go inspect the home and give her permits. Well, the building official, Mike Gordon, said, "Oh my gosh, I can't issue permits on those things." Evidently, she was really pissed off. And soon afterwards, Mike Gordon was arrested. And he was prosecuted by State Attorney Larry Basford for 2 years for fraud and other terrible things. Felony charges for fraudulently approving building inspections. Well, he didn't fraudulently approve city manager Vicky Gaynor's home inspection, and that really ticked her off. And so Chief Ricky Ramie, who tries to please his boss, arrested him himself. The chief of police arrested him. I think it was done at City Hall, walked him right out in handcuffs. So after he was arrested, remember, you get arrested by law enforcement, and then it's up to the prosecutors if they're going to actually prosecute. They could drop it. They have discretion. So State Attorney Larry Basford, the top prosecutor, he had his assistant state attorney look into the matter. Was this a good arrest? Should we prosecute? The assistant state attorney looked into the matter and advised State Attorney Larry Basford that this was most likely a political arrest, and she wouldn't give her opinion on whether or not it's a good. This is above my pay grade. This is political. You're going to have to decide. I'll show you right now. So this is look at this. October 12th, 2021. Inter-office memorandum, confidential. To Larry Basford from the assistant state attorney at the time about Michael Gordon, the building inspector, and two others. Kerry Odom, who was a code enforcer for the city, and Gordon Andrews, who was a contractor. These men have had their lives ruined. So what does it say? Well, one of the things that the assistant state attorney did is she did three things essentially. And I'm going to show you where you can read it all for yourself. But she basically did three things. One, she talked with DBPR, the Department for DB Building Permits and Regulations. DBPR, they're the ones who make sure that you got the right licenses and all that jazz. And then she spoke to Sheriff Tommy Ford's top head of the Public Trust Unit, Jimmy Stanford, Major Stanford. Now, this is I know because I've been told by the sheriff and the chief deputy and Jimmy Stanford is the best investigator. I mean, he can catch any crook. Jimmy Stanford can. So Jimmy Stanford's word ought to be it, right? Well, she spoke to Major Stanford. Let's see what he said. Major Stanford believes the charges against Gordon, Andrews, and Odom were pursued by Lynn Haven at the urging of Chief Ramie. He implied that Chief Ramie pushed these charges, these cases, because of wanting to please a higher up. Possibly city manager? Well, it has to be the city manager because we've been told by Mayor Nelson, Jesse Nelson, the mayor, and the rest of the council, we've been told recently that the only boss the chief of police has is Vicky Gaynor. That's it. So it has to be her. So the top prosecutor, Larry Basford, needs to know, look, the guy's been arrested by Chief Ramie, like so many others, whose prosecutions were eventually dropped after they were tormented enough. So what's your advice? Here's the advice from the assistant state attorney to State Attorney Basford. Major Stanford had already made these issues known to McClandon, who is the top investigator for the city of Lynn Haven. He works under Chief Ramie. And Major Stanford, the head of Sheriff Ford's public trust unit, was not happy when they proceeded with the cases. When Chief Ramie and his top investigator proceeded with the cases, that did not make the sheriff's office happy. So her summary is this, the conclusion. The assistant state attorney tells State Attorney Basford, I have recounted these conversations because they are conflicting. Obviously, both Major Stanford and Chief Ramie's top investigator, are high-ranking in their individual agencies. As such, I believe that not only do you both need to be aware, she's talking about State Attorney Basford and his second in command, who's listed on here. His name is Mark Graham. They both need to be aware of these conflicts, but I would like your direction on how to proceed on these cases. I understand that at this point, there may be political consequences to any action I take. Therefore, this is above my pay grade. Please advise how you would like me to proceed. Now, you would think that the state attorney, Larry Basford, would say, well, damn, in this case, if the sheriff's office thinks that this is that they're being targeted because city manager Vicky Gaynor's pissed off and Chief Ricky Ramie will arrest anybody to please his boss, we've learned, no matter how many times they're dropped because they're false arrests. You would think State Attorney Basford would say, well, let's drop it. But no. State Attorney, let me show you so you can know about this. I'm going to pull this up. So what I'm doing is I'm going to Facebook and I'm going to look up Larry Basford, State Attorney, so you can see which the right page to look it up. It's the Office of State Attorney. There it is. Okay, so let me show you this. Most people don't know what a state attorney is, and I want to make sure that you do. This is just, wow. Holy sh. All right, so let's take a look. This is, if you want to know more, wrong one, sorry. I'm going to show you that in a moment. All right, here we go. This is it. So that is the Office of State Attorney, 14th District. So if you get arrested, that's if you get arrested in Bay County, Jackson County, Washington County, Gulf County, Holmes County, or Calhoun County, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 counties. That's Larry Basford. That's the guy who will decide whether or not you get arrested. Now, I've always been told that he and Sheriff Ford were going to clean up public corruption, and it was super important for him to get elected 3 years ago. But that's the Office of State Attorney, okay? And he's the one who decided, after getting that memo, that, no, we're going to go ahead and continue the prosecution for 2 years. Can you imagine being prosecuted for 2 years? And then a judge finally throws it out because your attorney files a motion to dismiss and State Attorney Basford doesn't oppose it? What was that all about? Well, let's take a look at what was happening at the time. So remember, this was about the time that James Finch, this was basically when whoever the local cartel is, and they're the ones with badges, this is when, soon after they indicted Margot Anderson falsely, the mayor of Lynn Haven, the whistleblower of the corruption, and really soon after they indicted developer James Finch on bogus charges, he was found not guilty. It was at this time that they were getting rid, the local police and prosecutors were getting rid of people they didn't want. All of them had their charges dropped. Mike Gordon, Mayor Anderson, James Finch was found not, well, his charges weren't dropped. Two juries said they couldn't, well, one jury said it was a hung jury. He had to go twice in front of a jury of his peers. The second jury said within an hour, not guilty. Of course not. So remember, this is all happening a couple of years ago. And WMBB is like the attack propaganda arm of this cartel. I'll show you. This is how they were reporting this. They knew, but they'll say anything about you because they work in tandem with those with badges and courts who want to get rid of anybody. That's why I'm saying this is very dangerous. This is the most dangerous show I've ever done. You already know that last year, Sheriff Ford sent 7 deputies and surrounded my home, accused us of stealing a Glock 19, the same Glock, incidentally, that's issued to the sheriff's SWAT team. A tan Glock 19X. Bernie, we thought you guys had it. And the reason we were in your backyard for 8 minutes is because we thought you might escape out the back door. Searched our yard for 8 minutes. And that's when they weren't even nearly this mad. It's dangerous stuff. But would you agree that that's a pretty important memo? Where has that memo been? It's a public record. All right, let's take a look at how it was reported. Let's see that. Let's take a look. How did WMBB report the false arrest of building official Mike Gordon? Let's take a look. This was May 11, 2021. Here you go.
But as News 13's breaking felony charges has now been fired from the job in Lynn Haven and in Panama City Beach. Lynn Haven commissioners terminated Mike Gordon's lucrative contract today. But as News 13's Brady Calhoun tells us tonight, there are some who actually say Gordon is getting a raw deal.
Lynn Haven Building Inspector Mike Gordon, who's now facing felony charges, found some support Tuesday, even though city commissioners voted to end his contract.
You can call me naive if you want, but I think Michael Gordon is probably not guilty.
She was right.
Human being, I just can't even fathom that he would do this.
Tender said she's also concerned the city would face another lawsuit if the case against Michael Gordon wasn't a slam dunk in criminal court. That prompted Chief Ricky Ramie, who initiated the investigation, to speak up.
And I can show you pictures and anybody else pictures where he sent unqualified employees in to do inspections. I'll tell you, Ms. Tender, my biggest fear in this job is not being shot. My biggest fear is putting an innocent person in jail. And that's all I have to say.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Who believes that? Raise your hand if you believe that Chief Ricky Ramie's biggest fear is putting an innocent person in jail. Let's recount just the people we can remember. Well, we have a lady named Shay Murdoch. She was the woman he arrested about 3-4 years ago. It was because city manager at the time, Michael White, his buddy was mad at this lady named Shay because they had a thing going on. And, they wanted her, when it's over, lady, it's over. Okay. No matter what we told you. And they didn't like it. So I've shown you the text exchanges between Michael White and Chief Ricky Ramie. Bro, love you, bro. Good night, bro. She's on her way to jail, bro. The bitch is on her way to jail, bro. Actually, Michael White's the one who called her. The bitch really effed up this time. What'd she do, man? We'll get her. And they did. False arrest. Who else? Well, Mike Gordon, the others. We know that Chief Ramie falsely arrested, had Ashley Finch, James Finch's wife, arrested for possession of cocaine 4 days after he had to go on the witness stand and face federal judge Mark Walker. And boy, Ricky Ramie was pissed. That was just about a year and a half ago. And 4 days later, he arrests James Finch's wife. Now, it was such a false arrest that they dropped all the charges, and Larry Basford's office, State Attorney Larry Basford did this. They had to list like 7 reasons why it wasn't possible to prosecute her, but they tormented her and James Finch for more than 4 months. You don't mess with these people. Capiche? Who else? I know I'm forgetting people. False arrests. Look, he said his biggest fear is putting an innocent person in jail, but he does it all the time.
Dunk in criminal court. That prompting Chief Ricky Ramie, who initiated the investigation, to speak up.
And I can show you pictures and anybody else pictures where he sent unqualified employees in to do inspections. I'll tell you, Ms. Tender, my biggest fear in this job is not being shot. My biggest fear is putting an innocent person in jail.
Now, I showed you that at this time, while this is happening, this is what bothers me the most. While this is happening, State Attorney Larry Basford knows that it was a political target job. Sheriff Tommy Ford knows that his good friend, his fishing buddy, Ricky Ramie, politically targeted these people. And so does the head of his public trust unit. This is it. Look, this is the memo right there. They all knew. Everybody in the sheriff knew and the top prosecutor knew. Major Stanford believes. Why didn't Major Stanford come out and say, hey, this isn't right? Why didn't the sheriff come out and say, this isn't right? Why did State Attorney Larry Basford continue to prosecute them? Major Stanford believes the charges against Gordon, Andrews, and Odom were pursued by Lynnhaven at the urging of Chief Ramie. He implied Chief Ramie pushed these cases because of wanting to please a higher up, possibly the city manager. It had to be the city manager. She's his only higher up, Vicki Gaynor, and she was pissed off. Wow. So let's watch the rest of this news story.
And that's all I have to say.
Mayor Pro Tem Dan Russell felt the charges required the city to act.
I don't know how this city moves forward. If we don't terminate him, that means he is still the city.
Look, just know this. That's the when Mayor Anderson got indicted and removed by Sheriff Ford and the FBI for blowing the whistle, he became the acting mayor. Now, the indictments claim that he, Dan Russell, actually did get his home cleaned by the city and got a world claim insurance adjuster. I mean, they know. And Vicky Gaynor there has lied to the FBI and to the judge several times, but they love her lies. These are the people who did it right there. And the whole time, State Attorney Larry Basford knew it. And Sheriff Ford knew it. His top public trust unit guy, Major Stanford, said so.
City of Lynn Haven building official, how can you have somebody conduct inspections when there is a criminal charge, being pressed against them?
Commissioners terminated the city's contract with Gordon with a 3-1 vote. Tender voted against firing him. Gordon also had a contract with Panama City Beach. It too was terminated. Records show Gordon was well paid for his services. From July of 2019 to this April, Lynn Haven paid him $1,076,000. Panama City Beach paid him nearly $1.8 million, dating.
Do you hear the tone in Brady Calhoun's voice? Now, this is because they didn't pay him that. They paid his business that, okay, first of all. Second of all, these are the contracts, and I disagree with these damn contracts. These cities are the ones that are irresponsible. They should be hiring in-house building officials and paying them $100,000 a year. They should not be contracting out. They contract out. This is standard for them. This is not something that Mike Gordon was getting paid inordinate amounts of money falsely or in some crazy kind of way. The only thing crazy about it is that the cities are hiring, contracting outside building officials. That's the crazy thing. But listen to Brady Calhoun's voice, because WMBB is the PR arm for these false arrests and malicious prosecutions.
Dating back to 2015. By comparison, Bay County's entire in-house building department has a $3.6 million budget this year. The department has 21 employees, and the department head makes about $95,000 each year. In Lynn Haven, Brady.
What Brady Calhoun did not tell you is that they lost $8.7 million in the county from the Building Services Fund. Still gone. Brady, I would bet you anything. I don't know this. How could I know this? You say, Bernie, because the shadow knows. Okay, you got me. But I would bet you Brady Calhoun didn't write that. That is as though it is written by the cartel itself. There's a lot more to that story that I don't have time to tell you right now, because I got to move on to the next. Let's see how Lynn Haven covers the next story, okay? And then I'll show you when they drop the charges, how pissed off WMBB was. All right, so the next story about Mike Gordon, people started to catch on that it was a political hit job, and I'm not gonna interrupt this time. Listen to this.
Felony charges. The former building inspector for the city is accused of fraudulently approving building inspections after Hurricane Michael. However, he originally received strong support from Lynn Haven's former mayor.
I am certainly not trying to push.
Okay, I do need to interrupt one time. Watch what WMBB tries to do. They try to tie in. Remember, this is when Mayor Anderson and James Finch everybody thought they were going away forever on their false charges. Watch how WMBB tries to paint this picture that the only people defending this criminal Mike Gordon are the other criminals. But thank God for Vicky Gaynor and Dan Russell and the rest of the honest people and Chief Ramie. This is insane. Watch. Listen to this. Sorry, here we go.
Strong support from Lynn Haven's former mayor.
I am certainly not trying to push Mike Gordon down anyone's throat. I just happen to know him personally. The beach is very pleased with what he's done out there. I'm not trying to push anyone on anyone. It's just that I know this man personally. He has great integrity. He lives in Lynn Haven. He is someone who would work to help Lynn Haven.
Phoenix
She turned out
construction
to be
owner
right.
James Finch and Anderson were both upset by the performance of ECPI, the private firm contracted to do inspection work in the city.
Our citizens have come in for week after week. My phone, my phone every day is ringing with people telling me that they can't get this done, they can't get a permit, they can't get an inspection, and this has been going on for months.
Finch was even more blunt, calling on commissioners to fire ECPI and immediately hire Michael Gordon, even if they had to overrule their own lawyer, Adam Albritton, who requested.
This is amazing. This is the most, I told you I wasn't going to stop it, but this is the most amazing news piece I've ever seen. Let me tell you something. Adam Albritton, who WMBB is praising, sitting at the right of that table, all the way to your right. Adam Albritton was indicted. Adam Albritton set up a contract where he was pocketing 10 grand a week, and he was indicted for that. But for some reason, he's the only one who has not yet been sentenced. WMBB is trying to link Mike Gordon with James Finch and Mayor Anderson, and it turns out every one of them, every charge against them were false. And the ones they're praising, Adam Albritton was indicted and is awaiting sentencing. Time, see, this is the thing about their schemes. Time is an appellate judge. Now we can look back at this and see WMBB scheming. Wow. Is that amazing or is that amazing? Watch. Oh, Mayor Anderson and James Finch even went against their lawyer, Adam Albritton, who would be indicted and pled guilty and is facing sentencing.
Requested a short waiting period, calling on commissioners to fire ECPI and immediately hire Michael Gordon, even if they had to overrule their own lawyer, Adam Albritton, who requested a short waiting period to ensure the city would not be paying Gordon and ECPI at the same time.
And if you put it off,
sure.
You just keep putting everything else off. We didn't elect no lawyer up here, and he's a friend of mine, but I don't listen to my lawyer most of the time. Sometimes if I go to courthouse, I'm going to listen to it, but I ain't going to listen to him on business decisions.
At the end of the discussion, the city commission unanimously approved hiring Gordon immediately. Gordon is just the latest in a line of Lynn Haven officials charged with crimes. 5 people have already pleaded guilty.
Do you hear the tone in Brady Calhoun's voice? Gordon is just one of a long list of people charged with crimes. Yeah, falsely charged, Brady. Falsely charged. The ones that you are trying to create a caricature of, turns out they didn't do any of it. And I'll tell you, when the judge announced the not guilty verdict against James Finch just 2 or 3 weeks ago, you should have seen Brady Calhoun's fat ass sitting on the end of the bench. He looked like he had just lost his dog. All that hard work that I've done over the years, getting in the clown car, driving all the way to Tallahassee, lying to the people, poisoning my own community. And damn it, Bernie Thompson was right. You know why, Brady? Because I wanted to find the truth. And I told Finch and Anderson, when I find out that you did it, I'm going to tell everybody. And I'm not nearly as scared of Finch and Anderson as I am Sheriff Ford and Major Stanford and State Attorney Larry Basford. I'm terrified of them. They surround my home. But I'll be damned. The evidence showed they didn't do it. And Brady Calhoun is poisoning is, over the history will show you, if you look for it, that the people who sell you out the worst are your own people. WMBB poisons this community with their lies.
Guilty in a federal corruption probe. 4 others, including Finch, Anderson, Albritton, and former Commissioner Antonius Barnes, are set for trial in August. In Lynn Haven, Brady.
All right. So now we're going to look at the last story they did. This one was nearly 2 years later. This was July 14. This is really disgusting. When a judge dismissed the charges against building official Michael Gordon, who Sheriff Ford knew and State Attorney Larry Basford knew was a political hit job. We now have the documents that prove it. Wow. So this is when the judge finally threw it out, because the defense, and listen how WMBB frames this one. The judge threw it out July of this year because the defense, of course, filed a motion to dismiss. That's what defense lawyers do. And Larry Basford, the state attorney who knew all along it was a political hit job, he didn't oppose it. But you're going to listen to Tom Lewis, the news director at WMBB, Huey Lewis in the News here. Tom Lewis is going to be disgusted. And they're so mad that while Tom Lewis talks, they just put up Mike Gordon's mugshot the whole time to try to ruin his reputation. After it was dismissed, they put up his mugshot the whole. Watch. Here, let's watch this. Let's watch this last story about this. All right, here we go.
Building inspector was criminal case.
Listen to his
The
tone.
Lynn Haven and Panama City Beach building inspector was thrown out today. Michael Gordon was charged with public order crimes and fraud. Lynn Haven police said that they learned that Gordon had obtained a general.
Why are they showing his mugshot? Look, I'm a trained journalist. I have a master's degree in this from one of the top journalism schools in the country at the University of Southern California. A master's degree. I've studied this. It's my craft. This is journalistic malpractice. This is worse than that. Why are you showing his mugshot the whole time? There's only one reason why.
Contractor's license from Calhoun County. Local and state authorities had already determined a former Calhoun County employee was illegally selling those licenses. So Lynn Haven police began investigating and charged Gordon. But Gordon's attorney filed a motion to dismiss, arguing that he and his company performed competent inspections. It included support from Lynn Haven's current building inspector, Emery Pitts, who said he knows Gordon is highly qualified as a building official. Prosecutors declined to oppose the motion to dismiss, so Judge Timothy Register dropped the case.
Yeah. Yet another false arrest. And just in case you haven't seen it, I'm going to show you where you can see the entire confidential memo. Read it for yourself. The most shocking piece of evidence document that I've ever come across. It's terrifying, actually. All right, I'm going to show you that. But first, will you please thank those who sponsor the show and make this all possible?
Hand caught in the cookie jar? Sometimes bad habits continue even into adulthood. I'm El Saline, 850-215-0628. Let me help you.
Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777.
Okay, I'm going to show you hopefully this all works. Okay, I see. I'm going to show you what I said today at the city council meeting in Lynn Haven. This was quite something. This happened this morning. And do you know the doctor of leadership, Mayor Nelson? He didn't give a damn about this. He just, and when I said Ricky Ramie's name, Ricky Ramie was sitting in the back of the meeting. When I read this and I said that your police chief, Ricky Ramie was in the back waving his hand, laughing. What are you going to do about it? So what? You got a document that shows I make false arrests, but the prosecutor was in on it with me, and Sheriff Ford was in on it with me. So what are you going to do, Thompson? Except come here and put yourself in more peril. And I'll tell you what, Mayor Nelson, he didn't give a damn. He's like, yeah, that's our man. Keep messing with us, Thompson. That's the doctor of leadership. So here's what I said when I went up there.
I want to tell you just real quickly about there was a city in Florida. Really interesting story. There are, I think, 15 or so state attorneys throughout Florida. They're the lead prosecutors. You know, each one has a district. I think we're the 14th. And there was a confidential memo that came out. And this memo was the lead prosecutor needed to know whether or not to prosecute. So the task was an assistant state attorney, an assistant prosecutor, was supposed to advise the state prosecutor whether or not to proceed with this prosecution. And it had to do with a building official, and it had to do with a building official being arrested by a police officer, the chief of police for that city. And it turns out that the assistant state attorney told the lead prosecutor that it was a political arrest. And it was a political arrest because the city manager was encouraging the police chief to arrest the building official. Now, this is all in an official document, in a confidential memo at a state attorney's office in a city. And that city is you. And the police chief is Ricky Ramie. The city manager is sitting right next to you, Mayor. It's Vicky Gaynor. Evidently, the city manager was upset with the building official and encouraged the police chief to make the arrest. Now, it's very disappointing that the state attorney, Larry Basford, knew about this. You say, Bernie, what evidence do you have to make such a claim? Well, I brought it for you. You're the first to get it. We've obtained this document, and I'll hand it to the city attorney. I have one for each of you. This is titled Interoffice Memorandum Confidential, and on each side of confidential is like 4 stars. This is top secret stuff here. And it's to Larry Basford from the assistant state attorney, and it CC's Mark Graham. And I just want to submit it on the record, and you'll see what the state attorney's office knew and why that case was eventually dismissed by a judge, and why the state attorney's office was happy it was dismissed. But for about 2 years, this building official, Mike Gordon, was tormented by the city. And I know that he notified you all that there's a lawsuit coming. Cities have to be given 6 months' notice. So you got your letter of intent.
Thank you.
Here you go.
Additional public commentary? Not, we'll move on to our reports.
That's it. I give them that, and the mayor says additional public commentary. All right, we'll move on to our reports. Nobody cares, Bernie, just because you have this this piece of paper, confidential interoffice memorandum to the state attorney Larry Basford from the assistant state attorney that shows that the sheriff's office head of the public trust unit, Major Stanford, believes the charges against Gordon, Andrews, and Odom were pursued by Lynn Haven at the urging of Chief Ramie. He implied Chief Ramie pushed these cases because of wanting to please a higher up, possibly city manager Vicky Gaynor. Stanford was not happy when Chief Ramie's top investigator proceeded the cases. And her advice to her boss, State Attorney Larry Basford, I have recounted these conversations because they're conflicting. Obviously, both Major Stanford and Bill McClendon are high-ranking in their individual agencies. As such, I believe that not only do you both need to be aware of these conflicts, but I would like your direction on how to proceed. Are you ready for this? I understand that at this point there may be political consequences to any action I take. Therefore, this is above my pay grade. Please advise how you'd like to proceed. Sheriff's office told the state attorney's office that the Lynn Haven police chief is making false arrests. Or that's not exactly right. They would say, Major Stanford and Sheriff Ford would say, no. That's not quite what we said. Chief Ramie's a fantastic police chief. And there was sufficient evidence to arrest these people. But we used our discretion and decided we were going to go after bigger fish. That's what they would say. But that's not what that memo says. That memo says this is political. And an assistant state attorney says it's above my pay grade. There could be blowback on this. So if you want to read the whole thing, here's where you can see it. Go to Facebook and look. If you don't say, I don't, well, I guess you must have Facebook because you're here. All right. So here's where you can read the whole thing. I am if you don't know, the president and founder of the Society for Watchdog Journalism. It's a small nonprofit trying to be not small. So you can see on the bottom left, watchdogsociety.org. There is a way. If you donate to nonprofits and you say, I'd rather donate to something that brings us this kind of news, God, you could donate to this nonprofit, to our nonprofit, the Society for Watchdog Journalism. Our mission is to bust up the backroom deals and secret meetings by snooping in the public interest. I look at these nonprofits, these big nonprofits, wonder how the heck do they get so much money? The best donation you could make, watchdogsociety.org, right there. All right, it's tax deductible. It's a 501c3, watchdogsociety.org. If you want to donate to our nonprofit, write it off. So here's the whole, there's all the documents. You see that? So just make sure you like the page, please. The Society for Watchdog Journalism. Here's what I wrote. State Attorney Larry Basford prosecuted a Lynn Haven building official and two others even after a confidential internal memo indicated that the arrests were most likely politically motivated. Police Chief Ricky Ramie targeted the three men at the urging of City Manager Vicky Gaynor, according to Major Jimmy Stanford, who led Sheriff Tommy Ford's Public Trust Unit. Mayor Jesse Nelson and other city commissioners have said in the past that Chief Ramie answers only to City Manager Vicky Gaynor. State Attorney Larry Basford prosecuted former building official Mike Gordon for 2 years before a judge threw out the charges in July when Basford declined to oppose the motion to dismiss because he knew all along it was political. Lawsuits against the city of Lynn Haven are underway. More to follow. There's the entirety of the documents. Confidential, super secret, supposed to be public records. I wonder if, what I want to know is did the criminal defendant, Mike Gordon, who didn't do this stuff, it's thrown out. We saw, I've shown you that. I mean, the law requires that the prosecutors turn these documents over to the defendants. It's called Brady material. We learned all about it in the James Finch, Margot Anderson case when the federal prosecutors and Sheriff Tommy Ford's office just destroyed their evidence, just destroyed the written notes, the investigation notes. But the FBI kept holding information that could be exculpatory called Brady information and Giglio information. Was this turned over? This document? And do you remember when the city of Lynn Haven hired that fakakta lawyer to come in and say that Chief Ricky Ramie is a great police chief and he would never do these kinds of things, and that he said he had talked to the state attorney's office? How come the fakakta lawyer that Vicky Gaynor hired for Lynn Haven, that we later found out was the president of the Florida Police Chiefs organization, that was the unbiased lawyer they hired? How come he didn't tell us about this document? How come I have to be the one? Because, Bernie, we don't want our houses surrounded by Sheriff Tommy Ford sending 2 prowlers in the backyard. One had a uniform on. His name was Corporal Nicholas Macias. Searching the yard for 8 minutes. We don't want that in our lives. We're leaving it up to you, man. Well, now you know. All right, so there is an election coming up in April. By the way, Larry Basford and Sheriff Ford are up for re-election in August. And they are committed to cleaning up public corruption, by the way. Even if the FBI doesn't, they've told me that they are committed. When I say they, I mean the public trust unit for the sheriff's office, Larry Basford and Sheriff Ford, they're going to clean this place up. Even if the FBI doesn't do it. Right now, the statute of limitations are going by, but things take time. Sheriff Ford told me not too long ago that, the COVID really slowed him down. And the election was a real bump in the road on this. But things take time. So there are others with their hands deep in the cookie jar who are up for re-election. And I want to show you something. It's a 1-minute video. It is a listener-sponsored video, and it's so important. Mayor Mark Sheldon is pushing for a $10 million pedestrian bridge to connect Frank Brown Park to Aaron Besant Park. It's great for music festivals. It's the city's #1 priority this year. They've got a bunch of projects, and they plan to spend $236 million. 2 years ago, the budget for the city was only $42 million. That's why locals are paying so much more in assessments to the city. Mayor Sheldon says it's worth it. After all, he owns Gulf Coast Jam. The city's #1 priority will benefit his music festivals. He wants more state and federal grant money as a slush fund.
These are significant projects that will make a huge difference in our community. The first is to pursue any available state aid for the planning, design, and environmental studies related to a pedestrian bridge connecting Aaron Besant Park and Frank Brown Park. This walkover would link these 2 public parks and provide a safer avenue for our residents.
It's all about safety is all. And just to prove, just one more piece of proof about how corrupt these people are. Right after the hurricane, Mayor Mark Sheldon created a nonprofit called Panhandle Strong. I would love to know how much money that nonprofit gave to WMBB so that when they would end a broadcast, they would say, Panhandle Strong. Even when guys like news director Tom Lewis, Huey Lewis in the News, they get tickets. The sheriff's office now gets tickets to Gulf Coast Jam. Sheriff Tommy Ford takes tickets to Gulf Coast Jam for his office. And Sheriff Ford knows about Mark Sheldon. But, it's a nice concert. And but Tom Lewis used to go. Tom Lewis would stand in the rain. This is how loyal Tom Lewis is to Mayor Mark Sheldon, the owner of the nonprofit, or the title manager, the president, the guy who started anyway. Panhandle Strong. Watch how loyal Tom Lewis is.
In Panama City Beach, I'm Tom Lewis, News 13, Panhandle Strong.
What a concert, Tom. Is this good or bad for our community? So those of you who help crowdfund my efforts by donating, being a patron, throwing a tip in the tip jar, as I like to say. My name's Bernie. I'll be here all year. I hope, anyway. Maybe not after tonight. You can support my efforts anonymously, easily, and you can quit at any time by going to patreon.com, as little as $5 a month. But when a bunch of people pitch in $5 a month, that really helps. Patreon.com/Bernie Thompson. It's the best money you can spend on the internet. You know it's true. This is good stuff. And of course, I want to thank the Unknown Patriot. Thank you for your support. Helps me keep the lights on and find these documents that I can share with you so you can see what's really happening behind the scenes. I can't even believe it myself. All right, thanks for being with me, and I'll see you soon.